Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition. Great to be with you. Thanks for tuning in today. And just 2 minutes ago, before coming on air, giant cup of coffee all over the place. You had to be impressed. I didn't get it. I didn't panic. Did you?
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And you got it on your computer, so that probably means I'll be cleaning that computer again later.
Totally calm. That's amazing. I'm impressed myself. Thanks for stopping by today. What a mess. We cleaned it up, though. 2 minutes. 2 minutes before air. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I hope you had a wonderful weekend and made it through without too many diet and lifestyle violations. And maybe that wasn't even on your mind and you did everything right. No? Yeah, I know.
I was excited. We got to meet some fans this weekend.
Yes. Gary and I attended a little health fair in one of the local malls here in Tampa Bay. It was in Clearwater. And I spoke with a few people, spoke with a few of the vendors. And I was scheduled to give a talk. And Gary said they're going to give you 10 minutes. Turns out that never happened. But I bring it up because I thought, okay, I have 10 minutes. What would I say to an audience in 10 minutes that I think would change their life or help them with their health, wellness, and well-being? What would that 10-minute message be? And it distills down to a 4-letter word. Not that one. No. Diet. That 10-minute talk, I would have probably started with my attention getter, would have been, diet is the leading cause of disease and early death, and most likely for you. And I would point to somebody. Or you, or myself. That's a provocative statement. Diet is the leading cause of disease and early death. I can support that. I could entertain you for a good while if you're into science with study after study to support that assertion. It's not an opinion. I would be making an argument. Assertion supported by evidence. A claim supported by evidence. That constitutes what an argument. And I just find it so intriguing that even to this day, this very moment as I speak to you now, people are still looking for the, pick your metaphor, magic bullet, fountain of youth,
quick fix,
some secret, some mysterious drug, some mysterious compound that they will extract from the jungles of, in the Amazon. And my guest today knows a thing or two about herbs, by the way, Paul Schulick. And we're still obsessed with doing that. And it's a 4-letter word, and it's right under our face, called the plate with food on it. And I would have spent my 10 minutes making that argument. I would have pointed to some clinical trials, and then I would have pointed to traditional use data, what we've learned across cultures over hundreds and thousands of years. This is not a mystery. You don't have to alert the media.
Well, one thing I thought was very interesting is that as we're going along and we're doing our, I'll say shtick for lack of a better term, is the fact that there was people that
you do shtick, I do science. Go ahead.
Okay. And one of the things is there was people that were in their 20s, there was people in their 30s, there was people in their 40s, and there was people that all those people that we talked to, all those age groups, still didn't know how to eat.
I had occasion to speak with a young woman. I wouldn't even mention her first name because I don't have permission. She had she got bitten by a tick. And long story short, she ended up with an autoimmune disorder. Put her on heavy medication, and she ended up gaining like 50 pounds. She was there with her mom. And I said, the secret to weight loss is not a weight loss diet. And I was trying to talk to her about, I said, reframe it. You have to think about your relationship with food. And she's been struggling and fighting this for 15 years. You could tell her mom, a loving mom, was with her. And talking, it was about food. She had Lyme's disease, which is horrible. And she knows where she got infected, too. And doctors gave her some bad advice, and this thing got protracted. They ended up putting her on heavy medications. They got it stabilized. But in the process, one of the side effects was a weight gain. She wasn't very tall, so 50 pounds on this young woman was a lot of weight. And I suggested to her, I couldn't tell her everything. I said, listen to the show, tune in regularly, and you might learn how to reframe your relationship with food. I tell you that story because this narrative about diet cuts across every demographic, every disease. I mean, I just can't tell you how diet is the driving force. It is the driving force for health, wellness, and well-being. And you can't cheat biology, and you can't bargain with it. You can say, well, most of the time I eat well. No, man. No. It's not negotiable. I mean, any other kind of violation, people would never do that. They do it with food, though. Food seems benign. It doesn't, and people know it has consequences, but they commit it. That's the power of food. Food is, we don't talk about it that way, but we should. It's powerful in many ways. It can be very alluring and seductive and addictive. Not only unhealthy food, but healthy food can be the same thing. And I don't know what evidence is going to... This is sort of like trying to make the tallest mountain in the world taller by, dumping dirt on top of it. You don't need to. We know the narrative. My guest today, Paul Schulick, will share with you. We're going to focus on a specific aspect of a compound, one element of food, or a compound, an herb. The plants. It's all about the plants. I'm not saying that meat should be removed and excised from the food culture. I'm not saying that. It's the highly processed foods that have been clear-cut of nutrients so that they taste better, look better, smell better, feel better in your mouth. It's all about, in human behavior, we talk about impression management. That's what these food companies do with processed food. They're trying to manage your impression of that food and get you to latch onto it and get addicted to it, habituated. They don't use that language, but in their labs, they know what these foods do. Diet. I would have spent my 10 minutes with that message to the audience. I didn't get a chance to share it. Diet on Let's Talk Nutrition with Paul Schulick, Coast to Coast.
I'm Joy McCarthy, holistic nutritionist, and I expect more from my multivitamin. I've researched many vitamins, and what's truly different about Every Woman's One Daily from New Chapter is that it's fermented with probiotics and whole foods and gentle even on an empty stomach. Every Woman's One Daily helps you feel good every day, giving you immune, energy, and stress support, and nutrients for bone and heart health. You will notice a difference. Every Woman's One Daily recently won the Best Multivitamin Award, and I love that it's non-GMO project verified. Discover the wisdom of nature with New Chapter.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce.
Welcome back. Welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition, coast to coast and globally. And I use that term globally not as a throwaway line. We're on 5 continents, by the way. And we're terrestrial as well. It's Health Talk Radio for the 21st century. Won't get into all of that because my guest, Paul Schulick, I want to get him to share a thought or two. He has an important message to share with you today. And didn't get a chance to see him in Baltimore. We missed him. Gary and I were looking for him, and we twice we went by the booth and We couldn't catch him.
It was actually kind of stalkerish.
Yeah, kept looking for him. Paul, welcome back to Let's Talk Nutrition. So sorry couldn't find you in Baltimore. We just missed you by 5 minutes. You had just left the booth the one day.
Oh, what a shame.
Yeah.
I wish I had known, Michael.
No, that's okay. How you
I
doing?
would have loved to have walked the floors with you.
Yeah, how are you, man?
Oh, very, very well. Life is good. We're experiencing a nice wave of warmth here in Vermont, and life is good. Been out for a nice walk, and I loved your message on diet.
I want to hear your take, Paul. You've been doing this decades and decades, as have I.
Word. I love it. I think it's something we do many times each day, and clearly it has an impact. Just to present a related view, I think just as there's another four-letter word that is just as meaningful, perhaps, that affects our quality of life, that's just as impactful as the diet, and that is the mind, M-I-N-D. How and the mind is the root of our diet. What we think of as food and what we think of as what our responsibility is to our environment and to ourselves. So I'd like to think that the mind is at least a core, like what is nutrition all about? And it all begins with our mind and with how we treat each other.
How we treat each other and how we treat ourselves. I see, and you have seen it yourself, food can become an instrument for a person to reinforce the good aspects of who they are, but food can also become an instrument to contribute to the difficulties a person may be having psychologically and emotionally. And it brings comfort, but it also brings a lot of pain with it as well. And that's hard to talk about, but that's a reality. If you follow me what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And then within the diet or within the food, and it's really beautiful to listen to you speak about plant medicine and plant healing. Within the science of food and diet, it is now widely recognized that the most powerful foods that humans can diet on are our herbs, our spices. They contain many times the levels of protective and antioxidative compounds than many of our macronutrient foods. So I really am very excited and honored to represent the herbal kingdom, because spices, common spices like turmeric and oregano and rosemary, these herbs and spices, when you add them to your diet, they can have a incredible healing value in your life.
The last time you were on, you intrigued me with your conversation and narrative about black seed. I found it compelling. I'm sure there are more than a few people listening and watching know about black seed, but I'm sure there are many who do not. Could you pick that up a little bit?
Absolutely. I have studied black seed now. Its Latin name is Nigella sativa, and I have studied it for about 3 years. And what really struck me, I think, Michael, from the very beginning, was just how this one plant has endured the test of time. We're not talking about 100 years. We're not talking about 500 years. We're not even talking about 1,000 years. We're actually talking about 4,000 or 5,000 years of our ancestors' reverence for this plant above perhaps any other plant in the history of medicine, dating back to the King Tut, to Hippocrates, to Dioscorides, to Avicenna, these great healers throughout thousands of years. And there was no marketing going on at the time for hundreds and hundreds of centuries. You would have literally people saying that this plant could have immense healing properties. And so the more I have studied it, the more I have recognized that modern science is actually catching up and understanding why this plant is so special.
And I find it interesting. I can tell you can tell a lot about a person in the way the references that they make. Your references to the ancient figures, all those Greek figures and the names, your education and background and training. I love that. Our relationship with plants, and in specific the herbs. Lest we forget, these pharmaceutical companies would not be in business but for the plants. They're trying to find analogs to the often analogs to the compounds in plants. In fact, will use those compounds in the drugs. And if they can't, then they'll try to imitate it in some form or fashion. What does that tell you? Instead of doing that, do the real thing. We'll come back. We'll continue our conversation with Paul Schulick. I love the stories, right? The narrative. This narrative about black seed. I'm paying close attention. So should you.
The perfect complement to your beauty regimen? Try Form Essentials Zinnia. The finest of its kind, Zinnia offers twice as much biotin as other formulas, which has proven to unlock the vibrancy in even the dullest of hair, skin, and nails. Zinnia breaks through and rejuvenates cells internally, helping you achieve the allure of effortless beauty. Reviving your hair, skin, and nails has never been easier. This essential blend of biotin, alpha-lipoic, and hyaluronic acid, collagen, and vitamin C creates lasting enhancements to your natural good looks. Don't go on wondering. You're worth the results. This combination of ingredients can only be found in Zinnia. Pamper yourself with a proven bit of affordable luxury and start looking your best. Ask for Zinnia by name at your nearest vitamin retailer to begin your journey to restored nails, head-turning hair, and radiant skin today. For more information, visit formessentials.com.
When your alarm goes off, do you jump out of bed with excitement, or does it take multiple alarms, a few snooze buttons, or a morning caffeine fix to get you going? These habits and daily stress cause a vicious cycle in which sleep becomes increasingly elusive. In fact, 54% of Americans report struggles to fall or stay asleep. For a better night's rest, look no further than Solace, an all-natural dietary supplement that supports healthy sleep and relaxation, so you get the rest you need to wake up clear-eyed, alert, and ready for the day. Solace has given thousands a better night's rest and the power to take back their mornings while enjoying the day ahead of them. Solace is formulated with non-addictive, scientifically proven, all-natural ingredients that support sleep and relaxation, such as melatonin, tryptophan, and 5-HTP. For more information or to order Solace, visit takesolace.com. Solace, for healthy sleep naturally.
goes back thousands of years. You heard my guest, Paul Schulick, mention that. It's been used in cultures as an herbal remedy for centuries and centuries. And I'm always so fascinated how humans figure these things out. And it's filled with all kind of interesting little narratives in the overarching narrative about black seed and the stories that are told about it. When you go online and start to read about how it's mentioned in the Bible, how the Prophet Muhammad mentions black seed and so on, it just goes on and on. And my guest today has spent the last 3 years studying this one herb. And one time he, on air, not long ago, he said he has spent more than 3 on many of them, 10, 15, 20 years, just studying one herb, trying to figure out how it works. Paul, welcome back. It's great to have you back. Go ahead and continue your narrative. I don't want to interrupt.
No, it's one of the most impressive bodies of research. I love to advise the listeners, those who are open to the science of it, go into the U.S. National Library of Medicine and type in Nigella sativa, Nigella is the first word, excuse me, and sativa is the second word, Sativa, and you'll get 970 plus references, of which the first references you will see will share with you the immense property that this herb has, ranging from cell protection, pancreas regeneration, antimicrobial effects on your breathing, effects on your immune system, effects on your reproductive system, effects on your mood, effects on your blood pressure, effects on your anxiety levels. It is really one of the herbs that just touches virtually every system of the body. And the way it does it is really uplifting. It's interesting, some of the ancient healers, they refer to it as addressing dispiritedness, which is a sense of lack of connection, a sense of loss of purpose. So many of us are in need. That's why I addressed the beginning of the 4-letter word, the mind. This is an herb that truly nourishes the deepest level of human consciousness by uplifting the spirit. And that's the way the great healers of the past would refer to it. In the science, there are some of the most extreme conditions, like individuals in Iran recently who were chemical war victims. These people had severe respiratory symptoms of chest wheeziness and required corticosteroids. Here you have a common, in some sense, a common spice in the Middle East that has now been shown to alleviate some of these very severe symptoms. And it does it through this incredible mechanism of the mind-body connection. So it's one of the herbs that I find to be one of the most interesting and exciting in my studies.
For you to say that, given your long, you've been doing this for more than 4 decades, studying herbs. It's been your life is defined by that 4-letter word, herb. In my opinion, you've spent your whole life, you've devoted your life to understanding these particular elements of plants, these herbs. And for you to say that for me, is a strong message that I need to pay attention to it. I suspect that we've only scratched the surface of its medicinal potential and properties. But New Chapter, is it their black seed, golden black seed, is it in the form of a powder? and I was reading it can be different delivery systems, oil, powder. How have you all fashioned it as a supplement?
I read a reference a couple of years ago, Michael, that showed that when you combine black seed with another herb that's very, very well known now in our culture, turmeric, that those two herbs together have a synergistic effect so that they enhance each other's activities. And so what we have done is we have combined 3 different extracts of turmeric with 2 different extracts of black seed in order to make sure that we're harnessing the full potentials of those plants. And research has shown that when you combine the 2 of them together, they can have a profound effect on fasting blood glucose as well as other measurements of a system or a symptom blend called metabolic syndrome, where we have a condition where we have a higher level of background inflammation, high cholesterol, we have a large waist size, our body mass index is high, and that's a condition apparently which affects about 1 in 4 people around the world.
And you don't have to be obese to suffer from metabolic syndrome either, do you, Paul?
That's correct. That is correct. And one of the beautiful things about combining turmeric with black seed is research has shown that they may be one of nature's best ways of addressing this epidemic that's facing the world that we live in today. So what we do is we combine extracts, as I said, of these 2 herbs, and we have found that it is well supported in the research.
Yeah, you heard Paul reference the U.S. National Library of Medicine, and you can get access. You can go to PubMed, for example, and that's the outfit that makes that database available. I came across a review article, where they reviewed the therapeutic potential of Nigella sativa, a miracle herb, and there's a bunch of researchers on it. Ahmed et al. That particular review was interesting because they talk about the science associated with this medicinal miracle, as they call it, and looking at all sorts of issues, antifungal activity, antibacterial. It goes on and on and on in this review. And the one study out, anti-cancer activity, they talk about that in the review. Anti-inflammatory analgesia activity. It's endless. And the science is there to support it. But not only the science, but the human use of it over thousands of years. That is compelling evidence, too.
Whether you spend your free time on a treadmill, under a car, or in your garden, if your active lifestyle leaves you sore, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce may be exactly what you need. Inflammaforce has a natural herb blend that acts as an anti-inflammatory to help maintain healthy joint and mobility support. There are standardized herbs like white willow, boswellia, turmeric, ginger, and devil's claw. The vegetarian capsule promotes easy digestion and a fast-acting dissolve process. Inflammaforce includes a proprietary enzyme herbal blend full of antioxidants and flavonoids that target pain and inflammation throughout the body. Body Vigor's Inflammaforce contains ingredients that support normal, healthy joint flexibility and function, builds healthy tissue, and helps with your recovery process. So if you're tired of sore joints and inflamed muscles, Body Vigor's Inflammaforce is your answer. Purchase Inflammaforce exclusively on Amazon.com.
On New Chapter's website, you'll find in certain places what they call the 5 signs of inner health. This sounds like Paul Schulick's handiwork. Improving antioxidant levels, ridding the body of free radicals, balancing inflammation, enhancing cell recovery, and supporting healthy aging. 5 signs of inner health. You say, well, how might I achieve those? Drink holy water? Maybe. Or the herbal solution would be golden black seed. Paul, welcome back. Those 5 signs of inner health, very nice. Those are great goals to try and achieve, right?
They certainly are, and they're well within the grasp of every meal, and every herb that we take has the potential to build antioxidants and to trap free radicals. It's just a question of making that choice, Michael, and you can make the choice between a serving of French fries or a bowl of spinach. One is going to create free radicals, and the other is going to create an antioxidant response. We have the choice whether we age gracefully or we don't. It's all within, as you've said so eloquently, it's all on our plate.
It's all on right underneath our face, the plate. You call it golden black seed. I'm at the New Chapter website, and it's referred to as golden black seed. The golden references to what, Paul? Why is that included? Is that
because
just part of the
color? The color that when black seed is combined with turmeric, the turmeric has a golden orange color.
Okay.
And that's why we called it golden black seed. The 2 herbs together create what I refer to in my formulation principles as a 1 + 1 is greater than 2. And that really helps the understanding of how herbal medicine really works.
Yeah, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. Context is everything. There are a number of principles here that operate. These, after all, it is about, in large measure, too, chemistry. These are chemical compounds, and they behave in certain ways. They have personalities. I like to humanize them. They have personalities, if you will. And sometimes certain compounds don't work and play well with others, and sometimes they're looking to play and work with others. And a good formulator understands that and can create those chemical relationships. Apparently, black seed and curcumin work and play well together.
Correct. And the curcumin compound that occurs in turmeric is best known for its biological activities. The compound in black seed is called thymoquinone. Thymoquinone is to black seed what curcumin is to turmeric.
Good.
And those 2 are very highly active compounds. But research shows just as there are turmerones in turmeric, there are also cymene and pinene and carvacrol in black seed. And those combinations of literally hundreds of compounds, Michael, is what gives these herbs their incredible wide range of biological activity.
So is it tricky business to extract the compounds from plants?
That's a really interesting question. It is, I don't know if I'd say it's tricky business, but it does involve tremendous, in some cases, decades of people's experience to know how to just make sure that you don't miss out on some of the most profound healing properties of each of these plants. So some of the scientists that extract turmeric, for example, will think, oh, I know what it is. It's just a curcumin. So they just take out the curcumin. Or some scientists would think in black seed, oh, it's just a thymoquinone. But the real, for lack of a better word, the trickiness comes, or the expertise comes, is that what we have to do is we have to do our best to capture all of these elements so that we can deliver the full healing wisdom of nature.
Yeah, sometimes to understand a person as an individual, is to situate them within the context of their family. It can be revelatory,
That's exactly it.
right? It can be revelatory, yes? In other
Yes,
words,
it's
if
the
I...
whole family, and we don't know why nature puts, and that's when Avicenna or Dioscorides or Hippocrates used black seed, or when King Tut used it in his life, he didn't take out one component in favor of all the others. They knew intuitively that there was a wisdom to the whole plant, and that's the way they took it. And what this means to you as a listener or as a consumer of the plant is that you're going to have better memory, you'll have better attention span, as we say on the benefits of black seed that have been now proven in modern science. Your cholesterol levels will be maintained at healthy levels. All of these factors will be because you're capturing the full intelligence of the plant.
There is, when I was a graduate student many years ago, and I was new at that, I was introduced to the concept, that's why I love learning, of tacit knowledge. There is knowledge that is formal and codified or explicit, and you can get it from a textbook, a professor, or whatever. But then there's the kind of knowledge that's very difficult to transfer from one person to another, to write about it, to verbalize it. Plants seem to have this kind of tacit, you call it wisdom, tacit knowledge or wisdom, that and chemists try mightily, as do herbalists, to decodify that knowledge. It is, to say it's difficult is an understatement, yes?
Oh, it's an art. It's like a Michelangelo or a Leonardo da Vinci. It's just a incredible work of art.
Yeah, the tacit knowledge of plants, the tacit knowledge that's there, sometimes hard to understand and communicate, or and even talk about, because all these chemicals are so interwoven with one another. But New Chapter, take a look at the golden black seed, that supplement. It's sold in fine health stores throughout the United States. Include that in your protocol. That's one of those products you take every day. Paul, thank you so much. I wish we could have you on every day. That would be great. Take care of yourself. We'll catch you the next time, okay?
Thank you, Michael. Always a joy.
Yeah, I think about you often. You take care of yourself.
Thank you. You too.
Love you. We'll be back for that second hour, and we'll, always got something on the menu. There's always something on the stove around here. We'll prepare it and serve it up. costume change. Welcome.
The white shirt is so much better, though.
I'm so thin. I look like a pencil inside of a giant white envelope. Yeah, that shirt, and that's a medium. That's my problem. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you on. Thank you for tuning in, and we so much appreciate your listenership and viewership of Let's Talk Nutrition. Earlier in the show, I alluded to a concept. Some of you may know the genesis of this idea, tacit knowledge. My guest in this hour is going to be Dr. Michael Lewis. And in a way, what I'm going to talk about here to set it up, I applied it to Paul Schulick and herbs in that first portion of the show. The same idea applies here, you'll see. I'll explain. Back in 1958, oh my goodness, there was a fella by the name of Michael Polanyi. Turns out that Dr. Polanyi, his dissertation was about tacit knowledge. And that book, Personal Knowledge, I think was his dissertation. Then he wrote a later work called The Tacit Dimension. And in that book, he asserted that, quote, we can know more than we can tell, close quote. I believe plants have tacit knowledge. As chemists try mightily to understand what the plants can tell us, there is much more to the chemicals in plants than can be communicated or translated or decoded. And that's what makes them meaningful, mysterious, and medicinal, in my opinion. They have a tacit knowledge that took millions and millions and tens of millions of years to develop. I guess it came out of the vapors or the ether. I don't know. And we underestimate, or herbalists don't take for granted the knowledge or the wisdom occupied in the cells of plants. Some of the plants have become infamous, some famous, some a combination of both. Hemp would be a plant that is we'll have Dr. Lewis explain how it got implicated with the marijuana plant. They come from they have the same genesis. And then humans, and I guess in their wisdom or sometimes ignorance, attempt to protect. This is where one of my criticisms of the federal government. Protect the population from the plant. And somewhere along the line, hemp got banned, if you will. Couldn't even grow the crop, which is one of the greatest ironies of all time, given its history, if you know anything about it. And who was involved. Our forefathers, people that wrote the Constitution, were growing hemp, for heaven's sake. But the compounds in hemp and other plants are indeed mysterious, miraculous, and medicinal. Can be. One compound that's been in the news lately I saw it on Sunday. I don't know if, Gary, you saw that one booth where they had medicinal marijuana booth. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
I didn't get a chance to chat with that person. But CBD, cannabidiol, we forget. I mean, the politics and all the craziness and the marketing and people exploiting, we lose sight of the fundamental nature of these compounds and what they're really about and what they can do to help humankind. And we get caught up in the give and take and the to and fro of all the nonsense. And hemp, like other plants, possesses a tacit knowledge that is very difficult. And we try, with science, chemists work mightily at it, as I mentioned, to understand that knowledge. And usually tacit knowledge is applied to humans. I'm trying to apply it to plants. Some may find that ridiculous, but I don't know. And I know that Paul Schulick and other herbalists talk about the wisdom of plants. In essence, that's what I think they're trying to get at. And so in this conversation about CBD, please don't get distracted by what's going on stage left, off stage, and creating, and seeking your attention. Because that could cause you to divert your attention away from where it should be. And that is, in my opinion anyway, to understand the nature of this compound and what it's really about and what it can do. That's why I'm so delighted that Dr. Lewis is on. I saw him just briefly in Baltimore. Looked like he was either catching a cab or a jet or both. He was in a rush, and we didn't get a chance to talk too much. And Dr. Lewis is not some person living out there on the fringe of science or whatever. He's a pretty well-grounded fella. Went to West Point, was in the military for decades, achieved great rank, is a medical doctor in the military, and he's an advocate for CBD oil. And that's why it's interesting to have a person such as Dr. Lewis on the show with those kinds of credentials talking about this compound, which we're going to do in this hour. And as much I could tell you about Dr. Lewis's background and training, I sort of highlighted it there in a couple of sentences. There's much more to him than that, of course. Dr. Lewis, welcome to Let's Talk Nutrition.
Hey, Dr. Garko.
Yeah, I caught you off guard there. You didn't think I was going to bring you on.
I know. I thought you were going to go to a commercial break.
No, you got. Now
Tricked me on that one.
I like to do that. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We didn't have a chance to talk too much. You looked like you were in a big rush when I saw you, and I didn't want to hold.
It's a crazy month for me. I'm all over the place. I'm heading to Las Vegas tomorrow, Los Angeles on Friday. Just I got to wake up in the morning and look at my calendar, so figure out what I'm doing for the day.
So when you were in West Point, did it ever occur to you? Did you ever think that somewhere in your career you would be talking about, advocating for, and becoming an expert in something that the federal government, with hemp and whatnot, did you ever think that would happen to you?
Clearly not. I spent 31 and a half years in the Army, most of that time with the top secret clearance. There's no way that I was ever going to be around the cannabis plant. It was just not worth any risk of my career.
Well, you know what that's called? Life. Welcome. It's great. We'll get to Dr. Lewis.
If you've ever had digestive
Almost 52% of men experience erectile dysfunction and benign prostatic hyperplasia. If you've had challenges with virility, sexual health, or low energy, Body Vigor's Alpha Extension may be the answer for you. Body Vigor's Alpha Extension can help revitalize your alpha male and extend your love. Our formula is one of the highest quality nutraceuticals available, formulated to support the processes involved in promoting a healthy male sex drive, energy, and stamina. Alpha Extension has 2 powerful herbal blends, Virilla Max, which focuses on male sexual health, and T-Pump Activator, which helps balance your testosterone levels. Revitalize your alpha male with Body Vigor's Alpha Extension, exclusively available on Amazon.com.
Turns out that another costume change. As it turns out, there's a movement afoot in the natural products industry, and it's all a buzz. Maybe that's not the right term. It's all a buzz, a buzz about CBD oil. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching what's going on. And I see good things happening, And then I see, the usual, vultures swooping in and trying to take advantage and making the conversation contaminated. That what I'm referring to are people just exploiting the, as I said, the miracle, the mystery, and the medicinal properties of CBD oil. Dr. Michael Lewis is my guest. Dr. Lewis, welcome back. So you never thought that you would be talking when at West Point as a young man about the cannabis plant so many decades later.
Not in any imagination.
Right. You would have said to them, you know what? You would have probably said that they're cracked in the head and they don't know what they're talking about. But isn't life so interesting and all the twists and turns that it takes? And so here you are. You're one of the most unassuming spokespersons, I must say. I say that as a high compliment, by the way. You look as sane and rational as any human being, which all is good, because that's what's needed. A messenger that is credible. And CV Sciences is lucky to have you doing that for them. What's it been like doing that? What have you experienced?
It's been an amazing learning experience. I've had the opportunity to learn from colleagues such as Dr. Hector Lopez and Joe Maroon, and people that I really admire that you've known for years, like Stuart Tomk, who's just digs into the science, and it's been an incredible learning experience.
How has it changed you?
Well, most importantly, it's changed my patience. And, when I got into the idea of, how to help people recover from concussions and head injuries, I made basically a promise to myself that I would keep an open mind and look at new ways, anyway, to help my patients get better, because the current medical system, the current medical model doesn't really have anything. Once we get through that whole acute phase, what we do in the emergency room and the ICU is fantastic, but once we get beyond that, there is nothing. And so I made a promise to myself I'd have an open mind and look out for and try to apply things that will work. And CBD has been just an unbelievable journey over the last year or so.
Let me try this another way. That was a good answer and a legitimate answer. And your patients, that's your audience, and you should always. Like a producer and a host of a talk show, it's always about the audience, and for a physician, it's always about the patient, and so I respect that. Let me try it this way. I remember having a conversation with you several years ago when you first came on board. When I first met you, and we were talking about communication. Do you remember that conversation? It was on the showroom floor at one of the trade shows. Do you remember that or not?
I do, actually.
And I'm a big believer in that process has effects that sometimes we don't realize, and sometimes we are affected by the process. And you're a human being just like anybody else. And what I was trying to get at with that question, when you advocate for something, that I know they're words, but there's something that goes on inside of you. And you can't do that day in and day out with the passion that you're doing it under the circumstances and somehow not be affected or changed by that. That's what I was trying to get at. Do you think how has that affected you, as a doctor, as a person doing this?
That's a tough question. That's not one that I had ever really contemplated, because I really don't focus on I'm being totally honest. I don't focus on me. I understand. That's the concept of service and leadership, is you don't focus on yourself. You focus on helping others. And,
right.
And that's where my entire adult life, or really my entire life, has been, is how to help others. And through that process is what you get as the benefits yourself come only from helping others.
Well, your whole life has been defined by service. You were in the service for decades. I guess what I'm getting at is this. I know from doing this show that I see the world because of it. I see the world differently. I see myself differently. I see what we're trying to do in a different way. I have grown from the process. Going through West Point was a process that changed you, I am sure, immeasurably. That's what I was trying to get at. And maybe you're so caught up in trying to do this mission that you haven't. I didn't mean to catch you off guard. I was just curious if you had thought about it. That's all.
No, honestly, West Point was absolutely. Just this weekend, I'll give you an example. Is I grabbed my son. We flew down to New Orleans to see Army unfortunately lose to Tulane in football. And the reason why I went was to connect with, a couple dozen classmates from 30-some years ago.
Aww.
So that brotherhood has certainly been life-transforming. And as I had a professor tell me once, ROTC and Officer Candidate School and whatever are great ways if you want to be a lieutenant and a platoon leader, but West Point exists to serve the nation. And I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm. And well, you have done it all these decades. And now you're doing it in a very interesting and special way. We come back, I'm going to ask Dr. Lewis to give you the 411 on CBD oil. LTN Coast to Coast.
Women who are pregnant or planning to have a child have specific nutritional needs. Maintaining optimal nutritional intake is important for mother and baby. Body Vigor's Preferred Prenatal can help mother and baby receive the appropriate building blocks for growth, development, and healthy function. The Preferred Prenatal formula provides essential vitamins and minerals, along with added support ingredients such as folic acid and DHA. Preferred Prenatal also incorporates a bonus herbal blend to help the mom-to-be with the uncomfortable side effects of pregnancy, like nausea, vomiting, mood swings, and uterine health. Support a healthy pregnancy for you and your baby with Preferred Prenatal, exclusively on Amazon.com.
guest is Dr. Michael Lewis. He's an educator for CV Sciences. He's also on the medical board for CV Sciences and has been doing a lot of traveling and speaking and educating about CBD oil as made by CV Sciences from hemp. Dr. Lewis, welcome back. Please share with the listener and viewer what's on the top of your mind these days about CBD oil and CV Sciences' effort to get it into the marketplace and educate the consumer.
Well, there's a lot of confusion, obviously, about CBD oil and its close cousin, marijuana. So, first thing people have to realize is that when you derive it from hemp, it's considered food or a nutritional supplement because, you can buy hemp seeds and hemp products in the grocery store. And so there's a lot of confusion out there, and that's one of the biggest things to try to have to overcome. But from the medical side of things, I got to tell you, for people that are dealing with anxiety, I have found nothing better. And, the benzodiazepines and Xanax and so on, all these pharmaceuticals that are addictive, CBD oil works better than any of those without any of the side effects, and I'm just really excited to be able to provide that not just to my patients, but trying to help educate the population out there.
When you're out and about at conferences, trade shows, here and there, talking and whatnot, and people walk up to you, what are some of the themes, the strong themes that emerge in their comments to you?
Well, I can tell you, if they've tried CBD, their comments are universally beyond anything you can imagine. I mean, the most common two words that I hear back from, say, my patients, for example, they'll talk about, okay, as we've talked about on your show before, I use high doses of fish oil, omega-3s, and really kind of grab people and bring them back from all the problems of whether it's mental health or brain health from concussion, for example. And they really appreciate and notice that. But then when I get them started on CBD, the two words that universally come up are life-changing. And it's just unbelievable that you can have patients come back to you and say, this has changed my life.
Changed my life. Those are strong. That's you're a physician. When the patient says that to you, that's got to make your day, right?
Absolutely. And you wouldn't expect it from a nutritional supplement. And that's one of the hard things, I think, for people to understand, including our government, and certainly the medical industry, is that, how powerful is nutrition? I mean, we've completely lost sight of that because of our great success with pharmaceuticals over the last 60, 70 years. And we've completely lost sight of the incredible power that nature gives us and through nutrition.
Yeah, lest we forget, right? As I was saying at the top of the show today, in introducing you, the knowledge, the tacit knowledge found in plants that sometimes it gets very hard to understand, and the plants can't talk in a sense, but they can communicate their effects, and they do communicate. And we, chemists have been trying to understand their code and break the code. Not so easy at times. But the hemp plant seems like a blue-collar plant, doesn't it?
It does. And here's a big difference that I didn't know before, a year or two ago, is that, when you grow marijuana, you're, of course, growing it because you want the THC and, to get high, but you grow it. I didn't even know this. I mean, this is how ignorant I was on marijuana, was you grow for the buds and the flowers and stuff like that. I thought it was like tobacco where you smoke the leaves, and you don't. It's the buds and the flowers. Interestingly enough, hemp grows in the wild. It grows like bamboo, and when we talk about hemp-derived CBD, we're using the entire plant. Anything above the ground, that entire plant, the stalk, the leaves, any kind of flowers or buds, the whole plant gets utilized to extract the CBD oil and all the other, couple hundred other chemicals that are part of that plant for use in medicinal value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the first time I've ever said that on air, that some of these plants get pretty exotic and have such, get associated with royalty in the past being used and this and that. Hemp seems like, a blue-collar plant.
Well, here's something that I learned recently that, and I might be off on the year, but not by much, but around the year around the year 1757, might be off on that, the Commonwealth of Virginia, this is before the United States, the Commonwealth of Virginia passed a law requiring all farmers to grow hemp, and not just requiring them, but created a penalty if you did not grow hemp as a farmer.
Now they want to penalize you for growing it.
Well,
you can't make that up.
Probably at least 3, if not 5 or 7 or more of our first number of presidents, any of them that were from Virginia, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and of course George Washington, all grew hemp.
I know. I mean, geez. 877-897-8255. You can get in touch with Dr. Michael Lewis. I scratch my head. I do think, though, although it's taking time, people's ideas, attitudes, beliefs about hemp and being affiliated, what's the name of that plant again? Cannabis? They're getting disabused of some of those wrong ideas. And it's taking time, but they're coming around. When I was at the trade show and I was standing in the CV Sciences booth, and I brought one of my producers, Gary, with me, and I said, take a look. And I said, check out all the people walking up. But it wasn't just the number. It was the cross-section of society that was coming to that booth. I saw it all. It's intriguing how people are intrigued with CBD and want to know more about it, want access to it. If the government would only understand that and realize that having some of the... When we come back, maybe you can clear up this notion of Schedule 1 and what that's all about, okay?
Okay.
All right. And we'll have the LTN health question of the day. And if you have the right answer, you'll win a $25 supplement gift card. That's all good. LTN, coast to coast.
Are your joints feeling out of date and stiff? Is that old sports injury flaring up? Is your body aching from the daily wear and tear at work? Body Vigor's Joint Ready keeps you at the ready for any joint pain that gets out of line. Unfortunately, as we age, joint pain becomes more common. Body Vigor's Joint Ready can help provide relief so you can continue to go about your day. Our formula contains sulfated forms of glucosamine and chondroitin. Studies show that these sulfated forms are more effective than regular glucosamine bound to hydrochloride. Joint Ready promotes a healthy inflammatory response, facilitates cartilage synthesis, and provides additional antioxidants. Keep your joints at the ready with Body Vigor's Joint Ready, exclusively on Amazon.com.
Weekend Health Question of the Day. A little bit ago on the show, I introduced the concept, or I talked about the idea of tacit knowledge. Okay? It's an interesting concept. And I was applying, it usually applies to humans, but I was trying to apply it to plants. Here's the question. Who was the person who's credited with introducing that concept into the conversation? You know, it usually happens in philosophical circles. Concept of tacit knowledge. Was it Pablo Picasso? Michael Polanyi? Or Manny Pacquiao? Which one of those three introduced the notion of tacit knowledge? Pablo Picasso, Michael Polanyi, or Manny Pacquiao? Here's the number to call.
877-897-8255. 877-897-8255.
One of those choices is absolutely ridiculous, and those of you who know what I'm talking about. With the right answer, you could win a $25 supplement gift card. I'll give you a hint. 1958. The book was, there was a book that introduced the idea of tacit knowledge. Okay? It was called Personal Knowledge. I can still see that book on my shelf. Dr. Lewis, welcome back. Schedule 1, we're not talking about trains here.
Well, I got to tell you, you already have me stumped. First, you surprised me earlier in the show. Now you asked this question about tacit knowledge, and I'm completely stumped.
Okay. All right. So Schedule 1.
I'm not get this one.
All right. I'm not talking about train bulletins to see if the trains are running on time. What is Schedule 1, and how did hemp get involved in Schedule 1?
Well, hemp got thrown under the bus with marijuana is the short answer. So Schedule 1 is what the FDA, U.S. government, tells us that this substance, this drug, this whatever you want to call it, has no medicinal value, highly addictive, and basically there's no good that could ever come of this element. And, things like heroin, cocaine is not even Schedule 1. Cocaine is Schedule 2. Opioids and I just blanked on the name of the main one. Anyway, are not even
heroin. How about heroin?
Well, I wasn't thinking about. I was thinking about morphine.
Morphine. There you go. Morphine.
Are not Schedule 1, but they're highly addictive, can kill you very quickly. There's never been a documented death from an overdose of marijuana or cannabis in general. And so at the same time, the NIH holds a patent on behalf of the U.S. government, on behalf of the U.S. people, that says that cannabinoids from cannabis have tremendous medicinal value in stroke trauma, as neuroprotectants for problems like stroke trauma, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's disease, and so on, HIV, dementia. And so you've got a Nobel laureate that has a patent saying what an amazing medicinal value that cannabis brings us. And on the other side of the government, they're calling it a Schedule 1 drug. So the U.S. government can't even get their own act together.
It's crazy. And this is now, Dr. Lewis is not some, federal government. I get up every morning wanting to bash the federal government person. He worked for the federal government his whole life, for heaven's sake. He was in the military. He was a doctor. He's just saying that they're wrong on this, and they've been wrong for decades. Hemp has no business being... Why can't farmers grow hemp? We import it by the metric ton from other countries and sell it in this country, but we can't grow it ourselves. That makes no sense. That's good.
There's a lot of it that makes absolutely no sense.
It's like, I don't know. Let's go to Clearwater, Florida. Roy, welcome to the show. It's great to have you on, Roy.
Oh, thank you.
So, who was it that introduced this idea of tacit knowledge? Was it Pablo Picasso, Michael Polanyi, or Manny Pacquiao?
Michael Polano.
Yeah, it was Michael Polanyi. The book Personal Knowledge was his dissertation. And the truth be told, Polanyi was interested in psychotropic drugs, you know, LSD and all of that. He spent time on Indian reservations with peyote, doing experiments, trying to figure out how these things worked. And he wrote a book called Tacit Knowledge, and then another one called The Tacit Dimension. That's a flashback to 1958. Congratulations, you won a $25 supplement gift card, Roy.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Roy. Have a wonderful week. So that's who Michael Polanyi was, Dr. Lewis. I don't know how old you were in 58. Were you even born?
No comment.
Yeah, well, I was. I was born in 44, so, 58. But I got introduced to Polanyi as a graduate student, had to read his work, and the first thing I read by him was Personal Knowledge. It was an eye-opener for me, this whole idea of tacit knowledge. But I think plants have tacit knowledge. CV Sciences is certainly trying to introduce this idea of CBD to the public. And thanks to you and Dr. Lopez and Stuart Tompkin and others, you guys are doing a great job in educating the consumer and disabusing people of these crazy ideas. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome, and hopefully we'll be able to catch up a little bit more next time we run in.
I would like 15 minutes with you in a Starbucks, drinking a coffee. I would just like to talk to you.
Anytime.
That would be my pleasure. I would like to have that happen. I'm serious. I'm not just saying.
I know you are. Absolutely.
I am. You take care of yourself, and good luck with your travels and your talks and whatnot.
All right, and you keep getting healthier, all right?
I'm doing my best, man. We're coming along. We're coming along. We're doing all right. Thank you so much for being on today. We appreciate your contribution.
You're welcome. Thank you.
See you later. And thank you for listening and watching the show wherever and however you may have done that across the U.S. And I want to thank every affiliate in the U.S. for airing the show. We appreciate you letting us come into your station and your neck of the woods, Broadcast Woods. Thank you so much for doing that. And we'll be back tomorrow. We'll serve it up fresh. We like to think it's fresh, organic, pesticide-free, good, clean ideas. You are listening to Let's Talk Nutrition, where your health is your wealth. I'll see you tomorrow.